Hey everybody, Morry here from the Morry Method. I'd like to welcome those of you who are able to join me today because I unfortunately haven't been able to do one of these calls for a couple of months. I've been working on some pretty interesting new products that I'll be ready to beta test soon. So be sure you're on either my list at themorrymethod.com or Song's list, because we will be issuing notices very shortly requesting beta testers for these two new programs. As you may or may not know, the purpose of tonight's call is for you. I'm here to answer your questions, comments, or concerns. So if you're out there, I do see there's 9 or 10 of you, just type in the box provided on YouTube. Hi, Rosine, how are you? You see, I saw her say hello. You'll all see everything, and you'll be able to ask questions, make comments, anything like that at all, okay? The whole point, the reason why I'm here is for you. So that's why I'm here. I'm here for you. So what do you want to know? Ask any question you like. I'm more than happy to answer. The only thing that I won't talk about is the products and services of others, okay? I think you can understand that that would be fair. First of all, some of them I might have strong opinions of, but they're my opinions. They're not something that should be shared. And secondly, you know what? I'm not an expert in other people's work. I'm an expert in my work. So that's why I'm here. Also, for those of you out there, this, hi Chippo, how are you? So this recording, as it's on YouTube, will be saved afterwards to my YouTube channel. So if you haven't already signed up for my YouTube channel, please do so. I think there should be a somewhere in here, or maybe down there, there will be an opportunity that you'll have to sign up for my channel, and it will notify you whenever there's a new video there. I think it'll even notify you when I schedule a video, but that I'm not totally sure of. YouTube videos is still pretty new for me as well. So I see we have our first question. Now, everybody, you guys can, and girls, of course, can type in whatever question you like at any time. I'll be more than happy to get to them. We'll go in order. We have Rosine first. Okay, can you tell us when you first tried brainwaves on myself? That is a great question, and one that's never been asked. Funny enough, I've been interviewed over the last decade, probably about 100 times, by various bloggers. And interestingly enough, no one has asked me that question. So, okay, a little bit of history maybe is in order here, and that's actually good because it'll give you folks time to type in your questions and formulate what you want to ask. Basically, for those of you that don't know, I was severely depressed for most of my life. Multiple suicide attempts, lots of pain, lots of anger, lots of anguish. I used to wake up every morning and look out the window and want to see, not being afraid again, but wanting to see mushroom clouds. That's pretty depressed. I tell people, look at something that's black where you are, black in your room. Even the frame around the YouTube thing here, I can see for me it has a black frame. That's bright daylight compared to how I felt most of the time. So, you know, I wasn't a happy camper, as they say. Interestingly enough, to end your own life is pretty easy, actually, if you truly want to. So the fact that I had 5 attempts at least that didn't work told me that there was more of me that wanted to live than wanted to go away. So I couldn't find a way to die. I had to find a way to live. I started researching. So I'm researching all over the place. I'm researching hi, Lisa. So I'm researching all of my options. I'm researching hypnosis. I'm researching even brainwave entrainment, I found. And I'm researching that, and I'm trying everything that's out there, and nothing's really working for me. But I had this feeling inside of me that brainwave entrainment held the answer. It was kind of depressing, actually. When you think something's the answer after years and years of trying various things that don't work, eventually you get depressed because everything you're trying isn't working also. And I thought, I can't end my life because there's something stopping me from following through, obviously. I'm going to have to be miserable my whole life. And I kind of had that thought. And then Immediately afterwards, it hit me, maybe what's out there isn't quite doing it for me. Maybe it's not quite right. So I did more research. I delved into it. I got trained by a guy named David Siever in Edmonton, who, if you ask me, is the top researcher in this field, has been for probably 40 years. And from what I learned from all the techniques that I had tried that didn't seem to work, as well as from him and his vast knowledge, was that maybe certain things needed to be tweaked and changed in order to make what is available currently in the field of audio entrainment more effective. So I started trying different things and working in different ways. So eventually, and to finally answer your question, Rosine, interestingly enough, I finally realized that, okay, I've got all these sample recordings that I've created based on my intuition, based on my knowledge, based on my research, but I haven't tried any yet. Keep in mind, I'm still fighting serious depression here, but I am starting to feel a little bit better just because I'm taking action. So that's something you can all learn from. When you take action, it helps you to feel better just by itself. So I'm taking this action. See, I took action there. My eye was itchy. So I decided it's time. I lay down. I put on my cassette player because back then they didn't have CD players or MP3 downloads or anything like that. And I put on my headphones, broke into a cold sweat because I was terrified what might happen. And I started listening. I hit play, click, click. I laid back. I closed my eyes. After a few seconds, I realized that my terror was kind of not really called for. But a lot of people, when they try something new, it's unknown. And yeah, you're excited, but at the same time, you can be a little afraid as well. Hey, Coach Five, thanks for you being here. And Martin Hill, thanks for being here as well. So I'm sitting there, or I'm lying there, and I'm hearing pulses. And instantly, I start feeling like it's hard to explain. I started feeling like a relief. Now, obviously, after a few pulses, I'm not going to be noticing an effect. But I think on some inner level, I realized that my work was actually accomplishing something. And I suddenly became aware of the fact that I think this might help. So a few minutes pass, or what feels like a few minutes pass, and then it's over. And I thought, oh, my tape recorder broke. But interestingly enough, I fade in and I fade out of my recordings, and it didn't quite click with me that it faded out, because after a few minutes, it just stopped playing. Of course, it faded out, but later on, I realized that it had run for the full 30 minutes, and I was off in La La Land somewhere. I was off in an altered state for about 20, 25 minutes, I would estimate. The very first time I experienced lost time. When I awoke, because most of my recordings ramp back up to beta afterwards, so it kind of woke me up after, brought me out of my reverie. I noticed my hands were tingling, especially on the tips of my fingers. Interestingly enough, I've been doing this for so long now, just talking about entrainment, my fingers are tingling as if I was actually running a session. I'm not going to show you my feet, but my feet are tingling too. So it's really an interesting situation, but that's what it was like my first time. It went by like that. The rest of the day, I felt different things on and off. For the first little while after the recording, I didn't hear any of the voices. I guess I didn't say that in the beginning, but one of my symptoms, if you will, was that I heard thousands and thousands of voices, much like you would hear if you were in a large group of people, a concert or a wedding or something, where you don't really understand words, but you do understand the odd word here and there. And mostly it's a din of noise, just thousands of voices all intermingled. And I didn't hear any of those. And I didn't notice that until they started coming back again, which was kind of funny because up until that point, I've heard these voices nonstop for as long as I can remember, way back to early childhood, from the dawn of awareness, really. And interestingly enough, I didn't notice that until the voices started coming back. And they started coming back about hour later. When they started coming back, I got scared again, because even though the voices were annoying and I knew they weren't right, they're kind of like an evil you know. It's almost comfortable because you get used to it. As they started coming back, I had mixed feelings because I realized that, hey, this is powerful. This is doing something for me. And then they're coming back. So first they're gone from the recording, and I don't really notice until they start coming back. I get scared that they went away, but I get excited that they went away, but then I get sad that they're coming back. If that makes any sense at all. It was a very complex first session, I think, you'd have to say. Ultimately, though, the more I listened, the more the voices shut up, and eventually they pretty much went away. I don't really hear it anymore. I can talk about it. I can talk about any of these events, the pain I suffered through, everything, and there's no real issue. I don't have any retained repressions or emotional ties or baggage associated to any of my pain. It's all due to listening to these recordings. Now I realize that I'm the creator of these things, and you know, and you are thinking, well, the guy creates it. What's he going to say? But keep in mind, I don't say this to people. You'll notice in my sales letters, I don't. I talk about briefly my situation, but I don't get into detail like this because it doesn't. I guess it doesn't look right. You can't write your own testimonial. But to be honest, I wish I could, because for all the miraculous things that I've seen happen and heard happen from other people like yourselves out there, I I mean, honestly, what happened to me, if it didn't happen to me, I'd have a hard time believing it, and if it didn't happen to me, I'd have a hard time believing the stories I get told by people like you. But it did happen. I experienced it, and now it doesn't surprise me. But boy, does it put a big smile on my face, a really big smile on my face. So there you are. That is my first experience with the Morry method, and that's before I called it the Morry method. This is way back trying to help myself. Keep in mind that my technology, everything I create, was designed and is designed to help me. And then I test everything on myself. And originally, when I first started doing all this, I had no intention of doing this as a business. I had a day job, and I did other things. It just kind of mutated, if you will, or evolved into a business because it took on a life of its own. I started getting out to people. I gave it to some friends who noticed positive changes in me. They got back to me a few weeks later saying, "Hey, Morry, it's terrific. I love it." Of course, I thought that they were just saying it to, keep my hopes up and keep my energy up. For that, and even earlier, I was getting calls from people I didn't know, friends of theirs who they shared the recordings with, who were asking me questions. Why is this happening? How is this happening? All of these things. And that's when I realized I might be onto something that wasn't just unique unto me, that could help anybody. Because ultimately, when I was looking and hunting and searching for all these different techniques to help myself, the biggest thing I realized was that nobody can help me. I won't mention names, but the biggest name self-help gurus out there, and you all know who they are, I'm sure, were useless to me, less than useless, except when I started understanding that it's not up to them to cure me. It's not up to them to make me feel good. It's up to me. So I did what I believe their intention was: learn from what resonated, from what they said that resonated with me, and then take all those factors together from all the various sources, from all the various techniques and technologies, and mold them into something that ultimately became known as the Morry method. So there you go. That's not necessarily a Reader's Digest version, but it should help you all to understand my first experience and where my origins came from as far as how I came to do all this in the first place. So I'm looking at the chat here, and I don't see any other questions right now. Happy to read some questions that I received in emails if you folks would like me to do that. But I'm assuming that most of you are here because of the title, that this was a customer service call. And I'm here to answer specifically what you want to know. I would like to encourage you, because I do see there's a reasonable amount of people out there. And I'd like to thank you all, by the way, for joining me. But on top of that, I want you to thank yourselves and to honor yourselves by expressing your views. Maybe you don't have a question. Maybe you have a concern. Maybe you don't have a question. Maybe you have a comment. Maybe you have an experience you'd like to share. Maybe you do have questions. And one of the best things that you can do to help yourself, to really keep yourself and to be true to yourself, is to honor yourself. So if you have a question, don't be worried. Don't be afraid. I'll tell you what, when I answer questions, I know I mentioned Rosine's name for the last question, but when I answer questions, I'm not going to mention the name anymore. I'm just going to say the question. So you don't have to be embarrassed that someone may hear about this or know about it or whatever. Okay. I will just read the question. I will not say names. I will not say anything. Okay. I will just answer the question. If you have a concern, if you have a question, a comment, anything at all, it is my pleasure. Okay, we do have another question. So, are brain waves like a train we take going in a direction? That's an interesting way to put it, actually. It's similar to a train, not necessarily waves, because we're talking brainwave entrainment, though, is kind of like a train that guides you on a rail. And that rail would be a specific brainwave frequency that we want you to achieve in order to get the desired results. So the analogy of a train is actually pretty cool. I'm going to have to use that. I hope you don't mind. In the future, I'm going to use that. So yes, when you hear the pulsing tones, ba 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 ba, and the sh in the background with all the embedded frequencies that are designed to augment those tones, yes, the idea is we are trying to get your brain onto rails, if you will, like train, and keep it on a steady path towards those frequencies for the duration of the recording. And the reason we do that is because we would like you to create within your own brain, within your own body, certain combinations of endorphins, neurotransmitters, and hormones. And the interesting thing about how your brain works is that as your neurons, which are your brain cells, pulse away, depending on how fast or how slow they pulse, that dictates what kind of chemistry they produce and emit or, it into your system. It is that chemistry that makes you feel the way you feel. So if you're watching this video right now and you're really, really interested by what I'm saying, you've been listening to me, you find what I say interesting, so you're glued to the screen, as they used to say with the TV, and you feel that interest, you feel that inquisitiveness because you've decided to. And that decision creates brainwave activity, which creates neurochemistry, and it's that chemistry that makes you feel the way you're feeling. It's the same for sexual, for love, for hate, for boredom, for any kind of feeling, any kind of emotional or intellectual feeling you have literally because you've decided to have it. And when you decide to have it, you create brainwave frequencies in your brain that create chemistry, or a chemical soup, as I call it, which then allows you to feel what you've decided to feel. That's how it works. So, what that means is that with brain properly and effectively, we can guide your brain waves into certain directions, into certain frequencies that will release certain neurochemistry that will allow you to feel a certain way. For instance, when I first started on my odyssey, if you will, I tried to change the way I think, because in my research that I was doing for all the depression, I made the connection between thought and brainwaves, and then brainwaves and how I feel. So I realized that I had a bunch of things happen that I interpreted as negative. Because I interpreted them as negative, they created what I call chemistry. This negative chemistry promoted negative thoughts, which created depression, which then created more negative thoughts, which then create more negative chemistry. And there is the cycle of depression. You have the negative thought creating the negative chemistry, creating the depression, creating more negative thoughts, creating more depression, and so on and so forth. So I thought, my way out of this is to change how I think. Because if I change how I think, that's going to change naturally my brain waves, which will change my chemistry, which will change how I feel. Makes perfect sense. So I'm going through all the superstars of self-improvement and people you've never heard of, because I'm trying everywhere to go as far as I can go and as much as I can learn so that I can change the way I think. No matter what I did, it didn't help. Now, keep in mind, through most of this, I'm a drug addict, I'm an alcoholic, I'm because I'm drinking every day, I'm pretty much stoned every minute of my life at that point. Um, you know, lots of things going on. And that was my life. So I'm trying desperately to change how I think because I believe if I can change what I think, it will the resultant brainwave patterns, which will then change the resultant chemistry, which will then change my resultant mood, how I feel, what I think. Makes sense, made perfect sense. The only problem is everything I tried, nothing could change how I thought. I'd read a book, I'd read an article, I'd feel good while I'm reading it. It makes sense, it makes sense. I'd go to apply it or the book would end. Pardon me. And that would be it. I would be back to square one again. And that just feeds the depression even more and even more and even more. As getting darker, it suddenly struck me, okay, I can't stop thinking negatively. I can't stop the negative thoughts, is how actually it came to me. I cannot stop the negative thoughts. So the next aspect then is the chemistry, because remember, negative thought creates negative chemistry, negative thought, negative chemistry, and it just keeps going on and on. But what if I could change the brainwave activity? So the negative thought creates activity, which creates the negative chemistry. But what if I have the negative thought? I use something that can change my brainwave activity to something different. That something different, chemical soup, which creates a something different experience for me. That was the key. That was my aha moment, because that's when I realized there's something wrong with the entrainment that's out there currently. And I need to do something about it to make it work, because I'm sure it would work. I'm positive it would work. And, after years and years of fiddling around and researching and doing what I did, I came up with a technique that I believe, subtly changed my brainwave activity. And it wasn't my thinking I changed, it was my brainwave activity. And by changing my brainwave activity, all of a sudden, the voices started going away. All of a sudden, I actually laughed, and it was a nervous laugh or a fake laugh trying to cover up my depression. All of a sudden, I could feel real love. All of a sudden, things were just changing. And it all came from putting on headphones, lying down, closing my eyes, and that was it. It was something else, absolutely something else. So I know I have absolutely gone way off the rails here, but that gives you an idea of exactly why it works, how it works, and how it worked for me. The reason why I went into this in depth like this is because I want you all to understand the dynamic behind how your brain works, how your thought processes work. Many of us think our thoughts are reflexive. They're just there. I am the way I am. I used to know a young lady who was just like that. She was depressed 3 days a week, and then depressed the three, and she said, "This is just how I am. I have to be a bitch for 3 days, and then I'm sweet for 3 days, and that's just how I am." Well, no, you're not. You see, nature gave us everything mankind does. We measure things, right? We measure results. We measure, political polls. We measure our temperature. We measure our blood pressure. We have measures for everything. That's what mankind does. We measure things. We learn things. We try to understand things. Well, you know what? The body, nature, gave us all of this in the first place. When you don't feel good, when you feel bad, that's not a bad thing. It's telling you something isn't right and you need to investigate it. Most of us will ignore it and try to push it off to the side, and we think we resist it. But the truth is, it's good news. If you're driving your car and the check engine light comes on and you ignore it, your engine's going to seize and stop working. Maybe cost thousands of dollars to fix, if you can fix it at all. If, however, you take it into a service center right away, or if you have the talent yourself, you change the oil, things like that, your engine will be fine. A few dollars, you're done, as opposed to thousands and thousands of dollars, and maybe your car's done. It's the same thing with your brain. It's the same thing with your mind. Pain, agitation, depression, negativity, fear, all these things are things to be grateful for. They're not things to be ignored or to be angry at, or, woe is me. Why am I having all of this? It's there because they are the red light on the dashboard of your life. And they're there for a positive reason. If you start looking at them that way, you'll learn something from this. If you learn something from it, you will find that they were all benefits. Believe me, people hear about my history, and when I go through the first part of it with this wanting to see nuclear clouds and nuclear mushroom clouds and all this stuff, and all the pain and all the injuries and all the voices, everybody's going, oh, you poor guy. Oh, you poor guy. Don't go, oh, you poor guy. I'm the luckiest guy in the world because I finally woke up and started listening to the messages, and I learned, and I'm still learning, by the way, the lessons. And interestingly enough, had I had this wisdom long time ago, when, way back when, I could have probably avoided a lot of the negativity that I went through and a lot of the issues that I went through and a lot of the problems that I had. But then again, if that had happened, then I would never have developed into the person I am now. And I would never have developed the Morry method. And I would never have been able to create something that helps people to help themselves. So to me, I'm eternally grateful for all the pain, for all the depression, for all the illness, for all the crap. Because you know what? It made me who I am today. And I'm a pretty happy guy, really happy guy. Okay, so I think I've gone on long enough there. All right, let's see what's next here. Okay. Okay, someone here just tried the Intention Accelerator, which we had just finished a promotion for, thinking that they would be in a meditation state of mind, but instead felt very sped up. I did not think before, is this the reason why it's called Accelerator? That's interesting because it is a very fast brainwave. The Intention Accelerator, for those of you that don't know, even those of you that might know about it, is in gamma. It currently is my only gamma recording. Gamma is a very high rate. It's above beta. It's at 40 hertz. So that's really fast. That's about the upper limit of the ability of audio to entrain the brain at 40 hertz. So it's actually called Accelerator because it helps. In my research, I found that people who are what's called intention masters, these are people who tend to have or exhibit this kind of a brainwave activity when they are most proficient at manifesting their intentions. So, my modeling of my recordings is I tend to go out and I tend to research what people who are already good at what I'm trying to accomplish are. I measure their brainwave activity. If I not, I look at what the research, the current and existing research is, to see approximately where their brain states lie. And then I create recordings that mirror those brain states so that your brain can learn how to get into those brain states through entrainment by following it, the frequency following response, and following those frequencies and learning how to experience those frequencies. Once you learn those frequencies, the rest of my systems tend to allow you, like, there's exercises or experiments for you to do. There's things for you to do then, or other recordings that will seed the actual purpose. So we train the brain to get into a state, as a master would in that particular case. Pardon me. And then once we do that, we're also training the brain to be in the natural state that most people who tend to be in this state are in. So again, with the Intention Accelerator, the idea is we accelerate your intention or the manifestation of your intention. So I guess to make it more accurately named, it would be called the Intention Manifestation Accelerator, IMA. I guess that sounds pretty good, right? IA sounds pretty good too. So I don't know, but that's actually why it's called Accelerator, Intention Accelerator, because it helps one to accelerate the manifestation of their intentions. Okay, hi Beverly, nice of you to join us. Okay, we have Barry. Hi Morry, I would be interested in becoming a beta tester. Could I email me? You know me as Barry. Okay, from Melbourne, Australia. Barry and everybody out there who might be interested in becoming a beta tester for any technologies or techniques, all you have to do is go to my website, themorrymethod.com. If you're not already signed in as on my list, or make sure you're on Song's list. If you're on either or, both of us will announce when the beta testing happens and what the requirements are, because obviously there's specific purposes for each. You may not qualify, you may not be interested because it doesn't have anything to do with issues you're dealing with personally, but you'll get outlines of exactly what is involved and the kind of person we need. And as long as you're into it, then you apply. We will probably be limiting beta tests to 20 or 25 people, simply because we want a large enough sample to get reliable results, to make sure the programs work properly, to see if we need to tweak them at all. But at the same time, we don't want too many people, because then I can't keep track of all the results. It's just me doing the science on these things. So it's very important that that I'm able to continue to provide the customer support I provide, able to continue to develop new technologies and new systems as well. So I do have limited time, and that's why I'll limit it to about 25. But obviously, like yourselves who join me on these calls, people who are in touch with me more, will probably get a little bit of an advantage because I'll be more familiar with you. So that's not to say that you should be emailing me, "Hi, how are you?" every day. But regardless of how it works out, I'm sure most of you will have the opportunity to try it out. Okay, so there you go. Okay, dear Morry, will entrainment occur if my mind keeps running stories nonstop? That's interesting. A lot of the now, I just want to bring up that that's the last question we have right here. I have no problem, ending these calls earlier than an hour if necessary. I'm also more than happy to keep going until all the questions are done. So while I'm answering this next question, perhaps some of the rest of you who are out there who might want an explanation, might have a concern, might have a question, a comment, want to share something, please feel free to type away while I'm answering this next question so that I can just go right into the following one. Okay, so there is a fallacy, at least in my opinion, there's a fallacy out there about meditation. When I was testing other things and trying other things to feel better, every single meditation master I came across said, you need to not close your mind, but isn't that funny? I would use that word. You need to quiet your mind. To me, that's closing your mind. Okay. But you need to quiet your mind. So I actually had these people tell me that while you're doing the practice, we're going to train you. If you experience crosstalk, they called it, messages coming in, words, thoughts, racing mind, monkey mind, whatever, while you're meditating, respect it. So say, thank you very much, but this is my meditation quiet time now. I will deal with you later. We'll talk later. And that was a way to help quiet the mind, to take these thoughts that are just flying in and out and telling them to go away for now. I respect you. We'll deal with you, but not right now. This is my quiet time. And it sounds nice. It sounds really nice. The truth is, it's bullshit. Sorry for that word, by the way. I probably shouldn't use that, but it is. From my experience with thousands and thousands of people now, including myself, I have realized that if you are meditating properly, it's not uncommon at all. In other words, brainwave entrainment, because one of the beautiful side effects of brainwave entrainment is to actually have an intense meditative experience, is that sometimes your mind will be empty, but you don't force it there. It just happens. Sometimes you'll have a few thoughts come and go. Sometimes you'll have a thought that just sticks like glue. And sometimes you'll have what they call monkey mind, where the thoughts are just coming in and out a mile a minute. What I suggest you do in any of those cases is honor those thoughts. When you are meditating properly, these thoughts will come to you because they're supposed to. That's why they're coming to you, because you're putting yourself into the right mind state, the right brain state that allows these things to get dealt with. That's what you need to understand. If they're coming up for a reason. Don't ignore them. Don't say no to them. Now, if you're getting the monkey mind and like hundreds of things are popping in, try to be an observer. Just let them happen. Maybe your mind just needs to release. And there's a lot of stuff built up and it's just throwing it all out there to release it. If you fight that down, you're not releasing it. You're being counterproductive to the whole point of running a session or meditating. You need to let it happen. Treat yourself as an observer. Just like if you were watching a sporting event that's really, really fast and you can't really follow everything, but it's okay because you're there as an observer. Do the same thing. Be an observer. You will find that it will be so much more effective for you. Don't fight anything. If it's coming to you, there's a reason for it coming to you. If it's repetitive, then keep it in mind for later and think about it and ask yourself, why did this come to me? Why is this sticking with me? There's probably a lesson there somewhere. And if you learn the lesson, you'll be so much better off. Our conscious and subconscious mind, contrary to an unconscious mind for that matter, contrary to public opinion or so-called expert opinion, are not at odds with each other ever. They're always working in tandem. It's us who don't recognize that they don't necessarily speak the same language all the time and misinterpret that as them being at odds. Try to look at it as giving you a message that maybe you don't understand right now. Maybe you need to learn some new things before you understand it. Maybe it's teaching you little bits and pieces to get you prepared for a greater understanding down the road. Nothing is a race here. You don't have to become perfectly enlightened overnight or in 20 minutes. A little bit better than you were before. That's all you go for. That is the most satisfying, that is the best way to be. You know, in nature, the most beautiful things happen over long periods of time. You make love, an egg gets fertilized, that egg develops. 9 months later, a baby is born. 9 months later, a baby is 9 months old. Then it's 18 months old. Then it's older. Then it's older. Then maybe it's getting married. And the circle and the cycle continues. These are all beautiful events that take time and over and over and over again. In nature, the things that tend to happen immediately are not very good. A hurricane strikes, a tornado strikes, an earthquake strikes. These are all things that happen immediately. You want things to take their time. You want to be able to relish the beauty. You know, my wife and I, it's fall here now, and my wife and I went for a drive up north a couple of days ago to check out the leaves. And it was just such gorgeous scenery. You know, I'm amazed I could keep my eyes on the road, actually. It was so beautiful. We have beautiful rock cliff type structures as well. And the trees, different kinds, silver leaves, gold leaves. They look like they're on fire, red leaves, purple leaves. You know, they almost look transparent yellow leaves, just stunningly beautiful. But the longer I was able to enjoy them, the more energy and the more beauty I got out of it. If it was just a snapshot and it's done, I wouldn't have been able to get the same thing out of it. So enjoy the ride and do not minute and do not wait for success or whatever your definition of success is in order to pat yourself on the back or to be happy. Be happy with every step forward. You know, there's an old saying that goes something like, even, you know, the longest journey of 1,000,000 kilometers or 1,000,000 miles begins with but one step. And interestingly enough, let's say there's 1,000,000 steps in your journey. Well, the last step isn't any more important than the first step, which isn't any more important than the steps in between. All of the steps are equally important because without any of them, you don't reach the final solution. So keep in mind, every single move you make, every single time you go on a call like this from me or anyone else, anytime you listen to one of the recordings, anytime you do anything at all with the intention of making yourself better, happier, more prosperous, whatever, that is something that you deserve to celebrate. Don't wait for what you think is the goal. Understand that every step towards that goal is just as important as that final step, which brings you the goal. Okay? All right, let's go to the next question. Okay. So to answer the question in the end, yes, entrainment occurs and it occurs rather well. It doesn't matter how many stories are going. Often, the more stories, you might even be deeper in entrainment. Again, everybody's different, so and every time you listen will be different. So it doesn't really matter what happens. Entrainment will happen as long as you are exposing yourself to the tones and you don't have extraneous things going on as well. So your eyes are closed, you're lying down or sitting with head support, comfortable volume, and stereo headphones. Which recording is the best to listen to for something? Okay, for the something that seems hidden. Okay, I'm assuming that means you want to know what gives you the best insights. That depends on the individual. I think you need to use your intuition when you're reading our sales letters, and if you have products, when you're reading the instructions, in order to see what resonates with you. You know, again, I am an expert with brainwave entrainment. I am not an expert with you. I mentioned earlier in this video that people will listen to the same recording and or maybe I spoke about this with a client earlier. I'm not sure. At any rate, people can listen to the exact same recording, 10 of you, and you'll all have different experiences. That's the beautiful thing about properly engineered entrainment. It will give you certain basic things, but it will also give you things that you need. And it's not because it's really giving you what you need, but it's because it's exercising the muscle, which is your unique muscle, which is your brain. and your unique muscle will give you what you uniquely need. So I hope that helps. Okay, hi Morry. I have only started using your stress-free and success videos. Okay, I'm assuming you mean audios because I don't have videos yet. Oops, I just gave away something there. I find myself going into deep sleeps afterwards and struggling to wake up. Is this a normal reaction? Uh, okay, Leanne, can you get back to me in another message here and let me know exactly how you're listening, please? I need to know details. Like, are you lying down? Are your eyes closed? Are they open? Are you doing anything else? Are you on your computer? Are you playing a video game? Are you reading a newspaper? Anything else? I need to know all the details for your listening, and I'll be able to help you with that more. Some people do go into a very deep sleep and have a hard time getting up after. But again, and getting back to my previous point about getting what you need, it's entirely possible that the quality of your regular sleep isn't very good. And the entrainment is trying to get you more balanced in your quality of sleep. And that's why you're finding yourself into deep sleep. I'll have a much better idea about this once you get back to me with your details. Okay, I just wanted to say your work is phenomenal. Thank you, Bev. I appreciate that. But please remember, if my work is phenomenal, it's only because you are. Now, that's not to say if you don't have phenomenal results that you're not phenomenal. Again, it comes down to who are you need. Everybody gets what you need. Some people need something specific at this moment, something that's earth shattering. Some people will need something that is subtle. So what I'm basically saying is that all of you, that as long as you use the recordings properly and regularly, will get what you need. Okay, so don't be upset if you're not getting, these so-called miraculous results that other people might be getting or that you might be reading about, because it's entirely possible that A, you may not need that and you need something else, or B, you're building to something. Blocks have to be in place in order for something to happen. I have a recording called The Answer, and sometimes people will get their answer almost immediately, and other times it'll take months. Because sometimes what the answer will do is it will because it stimulates you to figure out your own answer. But sometimes to get the answer, you actually need more information. So depending on what you look for, you need to learn a lot of things in advance or a couple of things in advance, depending on what it is. So you can't push yourself or rush yourself. Again, we need to be happy for every little step. Just because you read about someone who got a phenomenal answer or got a check for $1,000 or something, and where's my check, where's my answer, you may need longer. You may need more information before you come up with the right answer. I had lots of relationships in my earlier years. I was 47 years old before I met my wife. Before I even met her, never mind getting married. Okay. So if I had met her earlier in my life, when I was still smoking lots of pot and when I was still drinking lots of booze and when I was still doing all kinds of stupid other things, I might have gone out with her a couple of times and then she would have dumped me. So even though at the time I'm going, why can't I hold on to a good relationship and all this other stuff? Now I understand that, she was there when I was ready. In other words, the answer was there for me when I was ready for the answer. Sometimes you're not ready, even if you really want it. The other thing I want to point out is, as human beings, we're very intelligent, or so we like to think, which means we think we know what we need and we think we know what we want. I have a couple of friends who are very, very rich, multimillionaires. And I remember when we were kids, they were talking about, oh, yeah, I'm going to be a millionaire. When I have my $1,000,000, I'm going to be so happy and successful and everything. And they both became millionaires at a pretty young age. And interestingly enough, neither was happy. So they said, okay, maybe I need 2 million to work hard. They're very talented, very smart guys. They went up to $2 million and still weren't happy. Well, the long and the short of this story is 5 million passes, 10 million passes, and so on. Still not happy. There's 30 years to get up to this 10 plus million stuff. And they're still not happy. And they still think, do you see the disconnect there? It's better if you let your inner self decide what makes you happy as opposed to you deciding what's going to make you happy, because you may end up wasting half your life hunting for something. And when you get it, it won't make you happy and you've wasted 20 or 30 years. The way to trust what makes you happy is to pay attention to yourself. Am I happy or am I upset? Does it make me happy to do this? Does it make me sad to do this? Does it cause me pain to do this? Does it cause me anxiety to do this? Pay attention to yourself. You have no idea how much data you get just from looking at yourself in the mirror and seeing, am I happy? Am I sad? Am I satisfied? Am I fulfilled? Am I loved? Do I love? All these things tell you the world about yourself, and you'll be able to learn everything you need to know so that you, in your 30 years, climbing a tree only to find brick walls surrounding you and you get no view at all. Okay, so let's go on to the last or the next ones here. Oh, by the way, I'd like to thank you all. You're asking more questions, and I really appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so let's go on to the next one here. Okay. I feel a lot of inner changes, but not much externally. Any suggestion on what to listen to? Okay. Again, you don't necessarily need to ask me what to listen to. Chippo, especially, I know that you've listened to a lot of my stuff over the years. You're feeling inner changes, but you need to take outer action. This is the thing. I used to think that I could sit in the lotus position, and believe it or not, there was a time when I could actually sit in the lotus position and calm myself and meditate, and I'd be able to change the world around me and everything would be beautiful. Interestingly enough, and this is something like, a lot of people believe in the law of attraction. I'm on record for saying I don't really believe in it, but if I wanted to use those words, so those of you out there who do can relate, I would say that the law of attraction only requires the law of action. You have to take action in this plane of existence that we are in right now, where there is physical substance. You must take action for something to occur. You had to get on this call in order to hear me and get your answers. If you didn't, you would not have gotten any results. You absolutely need to take action. I call it inspired action. If you think you haven't been inspired to take action, I suggest that when you listen, you start listening with the intention that you will get messages that will inspire you, direct you into whatever direction to go, to do whatever you need to do in order to change your external circumstances. Now, the other side of the coin is it might just be taking a while. Maybe you don't listen enough. Maybe you're listening the perfect amount and you're gathering all the little bricks that you need to gather before you notice the change. A farmer doesn't pour gas on his or her field and burn his crop 3 days after he plants seeds or she plants seeds. They understand that a seed has to get planted. So first the earth has to get tilled. It has to get aerated. They have to feed it. Then they add the seeds. Then they cover them, then they have to water them and expose them to sunlight and all these other things. And a lot of things happen under the surface that you do not see for a while until they sprout to the surface. So I suggest that there are lots of things happening that are seen under the surface right now that will expose themselves at the time that they're ready, as long as you are following your inspirations and taking action. I can tell you that's what made the difference for me. I mean, one of the many things that made the difference for me. So, and as far as what to listen to, use your own, you know, look at what you have and make a decision. Like let your mind pick for you whatever jumps out. It may seem totally unrelated, but believe me, if you have an intention and it's jumping out at you, there's a reason for that. Don't worry if you think it's unrelated or not, because trust your instincts and listen to what you think and take the action. And you know what? It's not always easy to take action, but you're going to have to push yourself. Use that as an intention when you're listening. I will take action. It will be easy for me to take action. I easily take action. It works. When you take action, think of it this way. If you don't, three things can happen with anything, okay? One, you take no action, nothing happens. Two, you take no action, you take action and nothing happens. So taking action is the same as not taking action because the results can be the same. Or something happens and it's not necessarily what you want it to happen. Well, that's a learning experience. That's something that helps you to move forward. Do you know how many things I failed at, which I don't call failure? but I'll use that word because it's probably more familiar to everybody. I call it an education instead. But do you know how many times I got an education before I succeeded at something? Hey, I didn't start turning my research, my recordings, all this stuff into a business until about 11 years ago. I'm 56 now. So do the math. That's a lot of years of floating around doing nothing when all your friends are like making money and driving cars and married with children and all that stuff. So I hope that helps you. Okay, I would also like to be a beta tester as well, as I enjoyed the quantum triliminals on prosperity and healing, dealt with narcissistic people who try to financially abuse. Yeah, they do help with that. You know, it's interesting because I designed the triliminals. Again, be on my list, Martin, and you'll have the opportunity. As far as the triliminals are concerned, they are designed to actually reprogram what I call negative reflexive thought processes. And that is exactly what we're talking about here. People or other types of people who are doing all these horrible things around you, it takes two to tango. So how you interpret and how you react to how they are is at least as important as what they're doing around you. Because sometimes you can't help it. You have a job, you're around these people. What can you do? Well, you can't do anything about them, but you can do about yourself. So what we're doing is much in the same way that we're getting rid of these negative reflexive thought processes. For example, if you get a phone call late at night, you don't right away think it's something horrible. And if it is, you recover quickly and deal with it. Or you don't open your phone bill because you're afraid of how much it'll be. So you wait to the last minute to open your phone bill. It also helps you with how you interpret what other people do and act and actually expose you to as well. So it'd be interesting to hear back from you, Martin, if you could tell me if you've noticed that by listening to the triliminals, you're noticing feeling even a little empathy for these people as opposed to anger, and maybe you're not being as poorly affected by their energy around you. I'd be interested to see that, because I can tell you for me and for many others, that's a pretty common event after listening to regular triliminals. Martin has more to say and had to deal with parents who undermined accomplishments, gave negative messages. Okay, I'm going to read the last part in a second. But what's interesting about that is people aren't ready for what you're ready for. Okay. And one of the things with me, especially with me, because Mr. Depression all the time, and then coming up with these concepts, pretty wild for most people. They had a hard time understanding me. Most of them thought I should get a job, in a fast food place, because there's no way I'm going to make any money at this. It can't possibly be of service to anybody. It can't help. Well, you know what I learned really quick? That they sucked my energy dry. Energy vampirism, right? We all know that term. And if we don't, we can certainly relate to it. The truth is, they were smart enough. They weren't smart enough to tell me, Morry, don't talk to me about this stuff. But they were smart enough in such a way that I don't want to talk to them about these things. So if you come across people who undermine you when you express yourself, don't express yourself to those people. They're not ready to say, they're not mature enough for what you have to say, whatever the reason. It may not even be a bad reason. Okay. They may be thinking they're doing this out of love. It might be very noble reasoning, but it's not helping you. If they don't make you feel good by you expressing yourself and their reaction, learn from that and don't mention those things around them. It's really quite that simple. Okay, so the second half is which quantum triliminals assist in overcoming these messages and help develop more confidence and prosperity. Interesting you would say that, because that goes into what I was going to talk about next. And that relates to the previous question we were talking about from the other person. So this is how it works. If any of you have ever been on my brain print site or purchased any of my brain prints, here's how it works. We have 7 or 8, maybe 10 pages of brain prints, and they have little pictures and they have the names of the brain prints, what the topic is about. The way to choose your brain prints, okay, because you create your own system with brain prints, and you can do it with triliminals too. And that's why I'm saying it with brain prints, but everything applies to triliminals that I'm about to say now with brain prints. Hold your intention, what you want to accomplish. So in this case, you want to deal with parents who undermine your accomplishments and give you negative messages in this particular instance. So you hold that as your intention while you're looking at the triliminals you have, in the case, the brain prints or the brain prints that you have or that you see online. The ones that jump out at you in a good way, you make a list. Because if you're holding the intention, your conscious and subconscious and unconscious minds will all work together to bring to the front the ones that are relevant to this particular issue. Okay, so the ones that come out at you in a positive way are important, and you write those down. The ones that come out at you in a super negative way, like they aggravate you, they annoy you, those are even more important. Add those to your list too. You may have 3 or 4, you may have 30 or 40. Whatever you have, at least one every day. You rotate through all of them. Let's say you have 40. So let's say you have time today for 3. You listen to 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Now keep in mind triliminals come in pairs. So you have triliminal 1 and 2. 1 is affirmations all over. 2 is hypnosis meditation affirmation. You don't have to listen to both. You can pick one. If you have a favorite, you pick the one that's your favorite. If you don't have a favorite, you can randomly take it. It doesn't matter. Conscious will direct you if you have a favorite or not, or if it matters. And what you do is, so today you can listen to 3. So you listen to what, like the first, second, and third. Then the next day you look at them again, and the 3 that jump out at you, you listen to those 3. The next day you can only listen to 1. Look at the one that jumps out at you more than the others. That's the one you listen to, and you go through this, and you just keep rotating through. Remember, this is not a race. We have to retrain a lifetime. You can't expect it to happen overnight. I'm a scientist. I'm not a woo-woo guy. Okay. So it is the nature of your brain. It is the nature of your mind. It is the nature of how you got programmed in the first place. And it is the nature of using science, technology, and intuition to recreate that process in a condensed version so that it happens much faster. Okay. So I hope that answers your question. And that's how, with our Triliminal 2.0 system and the brain prints, it's the same thing. The Triliminal 2.0, it's costly. It costs a lot of money for sure. But for most people, they'll never, ever have to buy anything else ever again. Any issue you have, you use that system that I just told you about now for holding your intention, picking the recordings that jump out at you positively and negatively, and now you've created a brand new system. Interestingly enough, also, and to carry it one step further, if you have, say, the 2.0 as an example, Triliminal 2.0, let's say you want to work on 4 different issues at the same time. What you do is you make that list. You hold the list for the first intention, then you use the same list for the second one, because you'll find some of the recordings are the same. You don't have to duplicate them. You may end up with, say, 25, 30 recordings for 4 or 5 different issues altogether. You can rotate through all of them, picking which ones to listen to, again, either randomly or the way I suggested, by whichever ones jump out at you that day. And you keep rotating through 4 or 5 issues at the same time, keeping in mind that there's a pretty good chance that all of those issues are intertwined anyway. And one of the things I believe is that we concentrate too much, like this, on one particular topic, ignoring related topics that are involved. And that's why people have such a hard time following through and seeing results. Okay, let's go to the next question here. Lying down before I sleep, listening with headphones. Okay, here we go. Leanne is lying. Let me just go back to your previous question. Okay, okay, right, deep sleep. Okay, lying down before I sleep. Well, there's a good reason right there. These recordings can be incredibly relaxing as a side effect. Using them before you go to sleep is only going to deepen. So that's a good one. If you're listening on your cell phone, by the way, make sure that you turn your cell phone to airplane mode, because you don't want any beeps or clicks or anything for it pulling the internet, or maybe someone sends you a message or an email. You want to have it in airplane mode. Okay. At night, sitting when I wake up in the mornings or during the day. Okay, if you're doing it during the day and you're having that issue, you're probably not sleeping very well at night. Okay, and it says right here, I was having sleeping problems before, as you were very stressed. So the thing is, deal with your sleep. Okay, if you have good night's sleep, well, that's a great recording to listen to quietly in the background while you are listening. Okay, or sorry, when you go to bed at night over a speaker. I suggest you have as your intention that you will get good sleep and you will be well rested. I think as you listen more regularly, you'll be okay. What you can do, because normally my recordings, they raise up into beta, you should kind of come out of it automatically. If you're not coming out of it, you're probably in great sleep. In that case, I would suggest just setting your cell phones. If you're going to listen to a half an hour recording, set your cell phone's alarm for 40 minutes. It'll wake you up. You can usually set smartphones now to start quiet and raise in volume. It's called ascending. So look up how to do that on Google or in your manual and do that. I think over time, you didn't tell me how long you've been doing this for, but I think over time you'll notice that this will get better as your sleeping improves. Okay, let's go to the next question. By the way, I want to thank you all. Since I've been doing this on YouTube, this is easily the most responsive you've all been, and I'm very happy about this. I really appreciate you all very much. Okay, so we have, it looks like, let's see here. We have a few more questions. If any of you have more questions, please feel free. Of course, we've gone already over an hour. I'm happy to stick around however long this takes. I am very proud of the fact that I am, as far as I know, the only intern at all in the self-help business who takes every single question and will not go away until every question is done. I have a personal record of 5 hours after I did a presentation of 30 minutes answering questions for 5 hours because everyone had to get their question answered. Because I honor each and every one of you, and I'm grateful. You understand, I'm sure, coming from where I came from my severe depression, from my loneliness, from my isolationism, from everything. Uh, I'm very grateful to all of you, and I want to honor that by honoring you. So there you go. Okay, let's go on to the next question. How many different types of brain waves? Okay, there's lots of techniques. I mean, meditation, various forms of meditation influence brainwave activity. Chemicals influence brainwave activity. If you smoke pot, it increases different factors of your brainwave activity and it decreases others. If you drink coffee, it increases and decreases others. Doing other drugs, eating sweets influences your brainwave activity. What you watch on TV influences your brainwave activity. Pretty much anything you do consciously and even unconsciously, even when you're asleep, influences your brainwave activity. So how many different techniques? Probably millions. How many do I use? Currently, I am using a few. There's a few new ones that I'm developing that have never been done before anywhere on this planet, much like the triliminals, much like others that I do. I'm never really happy staying with something, even though the technology that was in my original quantum mind power system is still strong and powerful today. And I still listen to a couple of the recordings on a regular basis because they are that effective. But I'm never happy with just what works. I want to always, there's a couple of reasons for that. I want to always expand my own existence and my own repertoire and my own mind. But at the same time, I realize that just because something works great for me doesn't mean it's going to work great for everybody. So I want to come up with different modalities, with different techniques, so that hopefully more and more people can benefit from my work, as opposed to just a small minority because they're capable of reacting properly to certain tones, but others aren't, and they're left out in the cold. I'm I don't want to play favorites. I want everyone to be helped. Okay. Can we say different types of human beings will have their better brainwave schemes more suitable for them? Yeah. Different people with different upbringings, with different physiology, with different diets, because your diet influences your chemistry big time. If you eat a lot of junk food, if you drink a lot of coffee, it's going to have a great influence over the building blocks, the precursors, if you will, that are needed to create the neurochemistry that is required and a result of properly engineered entrainment. If someone is eating crap all the time, they will get less results than someone who eats better using the same recording. The same person using recordings of mine will get better results if they eat better than if they don't eat better. If they go to bed at a reasonable hour as opposed to going to bed super late and getting up super early all the time. So, there's lots of things that are involved and influence the kind of sessions you get and the kind of benefits you can get as well. Chippo says, thank you. Okay, let's see here. Do I need to listen to Triliminal 1 and 2, or can I use only 2? Okay, it looks like your favorite is Ancient Love Me. Love that name. It looks like 2 is your favorite. If 2 is your favorite, then use 2. There's no, 1 isn't better than 2, 2 isn't better than 1. 1, as I mentioned before, is affirmations. Affirmations on this side for this hemisphere, affirmations on this side, affirmations in the center for both. The triluminal 2 is meditation, hypnosis, affirmations. So it really depends if you have a preference. If you don't have a preference, it doesn't matter. Randomly pick one. If you do have a natural preference towards one or the other, stick with that preference because, again, that's your instinct. That's your brain. That's your mind telling you, hey, I do better with this one. Let's do this one. You need to trust yourself, especially, when I give a listening protocol in my systems, my listening protocol might be a little strict, but you have to kind of stick as closest to it as you can for the first couple of months. After that, start using your instincts more and more, because one of the things that properly engineered entrainment will do for you is it will help to hone your instincts, your gut feeling. And that's what you want. You want to hone your gut feeling so that you can be sure that you can trust it down the road. And that's part of what this does. That's why you want to listen regularly and stable for at least, you know, preferably two. Then you would start listening. You want to keep listening regularly still. But for instance, if you're listening every day to start with, and then you're very happy with the results and you're kind of where you want to be, you can go down to, say, a couple of times a week listening and see how that does for you. Does that maintain your results? Or you can do like I do and say, hey, I don't, I want to see where I can go. So I listen every day. Well, there's the odd day that gets in my way and I don't, but more or less I listen every day because I want to see where I'm going to go. And with me listening every day, I'm coming up with new techniques and technologies all the time. I have probably 8 or 9 systems that I'm debating whether or not to release. I'm working on the release of one system right now that was mentioned in a book by Dr. Dale Bredesen called "The End of Alzheimer's," because he urged people to use one of my recordings for as part of his protocol to arrest and even reduce or recover somewhat from Alzheimer's. Even though medical science says that isn't possible, he has case after case after case. You guys can look him up if you know anyone who's suffering from cognitive decline of any sort, Alzheimer's specifically. You should seriously look up Dr. Dale Bredesen, Bredesen. He's a wonderful human being, a fantastic scientist. And like I said, this book was on the End of Alzheimer's was on the New York Times bestsellers list. He's coming out with a follow-up book shortly. He's been on all the big, talk shows. This guy's for real. His techniques are for real, and they're showing real positive change in people. So I really encourage you to do that. But, I digress. So basically, that's, 1 and 2. You don't have to listen to both. If you want to listen to both, you can, but it's not necessary. Okay. So Leanne says only 2 weeks and thank you. Okay, 2 weeks is not really enough either, Leanne. Your body and your mind could be going through a balancing routine right now as well. Try to listen at a quieter volume. That would be my suggestion, a much quieter volume to start with. The effects are kind of like a gas pedal. If you're louder, within reason, as long as it's comfortable, is going to be stronger, the effect. Quieter, the effect will be lessened. So try it quieter and give yourself more time. As you start feeling better and as you start acclimatizing to this form of stimulation, because that could be what it is, you're very sensitive to it and it's just having a strong reaction with you, you can slowly, at the next listening, raise the volume, see how that is for a week or so. That's good. You move up again and again and again until eventually you get back to a regular listening volume. Again, I want to instill in you all, this is not a race. You don't have to race. Be grateful and happy for every little step forward. Okay. Martin, yes, definitely. Energy vampires had to love, forgive, and let them go. Exactly. Knowing that I cannot change them, only myself, needing lightning focus on my goal. Thank you for the tips on how to choose triliminals. Absolutely my pleasure. I test everything on myself first. I'm the major guinea pig. There are some things that I've created that I will never release because they created results that I'm not happy with. And, I don't want you all to suffer with that. So sure that everything I do is tested on me first. And of course, everybody's different. So there will be some unique, experiences, of course, but I'm always there for you. Okay. You can reach me on Skype at a moment's notice at Morry Zelko, MORRYZELCO. I will type that in actually. Okay, and that's my Skype. So if you need me on Skype, you can get me there, no problem. Uh, I'm always happy to chat with you, to help you. I understand that I'm not selling apples and oranges. Everybody knows what an apple is, everybody knows what an orange is. Very few people know what I do. Even people who think they do because they've used other products, which I will not mention, they think they know. I'm an actual scientist, not someone who bought a program online or some software online and then create recordings based on what they tell you they are and sell them as if I'm some kind of an expert. I have developed this based on my own experiences, based on my own need, my own horrible, disgusting needs, my disgusting depression, my disgusting this, my disgusting that, which I am grateful for. Okay, I was leading you on with the disgusting. I'm grateful for all of it. But it was because of that that I created what I've created and why I continue to create what I create. Because believe me, I'm so much better than I was. I mean, you can all see that in me and hear that in me, but don't think for a minute that it isn't in the back of my mind that I could drop where I was again, which is why I'm always working to help people. I'm always working to listen. I'm always working to develop new systems, new technologies, and I'm always using my products all the time. And I will use them till I think when I'm lying in the coffin, I'll have someone put headphones on my head. So and have one of my recordings playing loop the whole time because I really believe it's that powerful and it does that much good for me. So there you go. Okay. All right. We have one more question, and I'm happy to stick around. So if you folks have more things to ask, or if you want to know more things, even if you want to ask personal questions about me, just to learn a little bit about me, to understand more, if you want to understand more about how entrainment works or why it works or anything at all, don't be embarrassed. Okay, honor your mind, honor your brain. Okay, in all your different products and brainwaves, how do we know which one is doing good? Can we use our feelings to test the brainwaves and know what will be good, even though we are in the unknown for us? Okay, I kind of, in roundabout ways and various other questions, answered most of this. Uh, what I normally tell people who don't know which system is good, because most people will say, "Hey, you're the expert. Tell me the best product for me." I won't know. Again, I'm the expert in brainwave entrainment. I'm not the expert in you. I do realize that our sales letters are exceedingly long. And unfortunately, that's, I'm not the marketer. That's how things are, at least with our products. Short, little, concise emails and sales letters don't do the trick. They don't give people enough information so that they know whether it's right for them or not. What I suggest for people to do is currently I have a website, themorrymethod.com. I'm redoing it live in its previous incarnation. If you go to the products page, you'll scroll down, you'll see a bunch of products. You click on the little airline, the little upside down triangle thing, and it will tell you the name of the product. And you click on it, you'll get a brief description. Then you can go to the sales letter and read about it. What people to do is hold in mind your intention. Why do you want this product? Do you want to experiment? Are you basically a happy person? You just want to see what can happen? What's going on? What's the reason for this? Hold that as your intention and read the letters. I realize it might take you a little while, but read the letters and see what resonates with you. It's so important to trust yourself and your own instincts. I believe that every single person, something will resonate with them, and then they'll have an idea for what is best for them to use. Maybe it's the brain prints, maybe it's the triliminals, maybe it's quantum confidence, maybe it's quantum mind power, maybe it's effortless prosperity. It could be anything. Or maybe none of it resonates with them, in which case they need to find a different website and find different products. But you have to trust yourself. I am not you. I think if you ask someone what's the best for me and they're not a medical doctor and they haven't examined you and they haven't done blood tests and all this other stuff, then if they tell you what's best for you, I think you should run for the hills. Because how could they possibly know? I don't know who you are. Even if I've spoken with you for an hour or so on Skype or something, I don't know you. How can you possibly, I mean, unless you're asking me, what's best for me because you want to see if I'm going to answer or not. And if I answer, you go, thank you very much, see you later, then that's okay. But don't ask other people to find solutions for you. You need to have the intention of what you want solved, and then you need to read what they talk about and see if it resonates with you. That's another reason why self-help doesn't work for most people, because I think they're trusting the so-called guru to do everything for them. And in order for you to heal, for you to be better, for you to be smarter and faster and stronger, you need to take the action. You need to make the decision. And then you need, once you've done all of that, to actually use the thing properly. So it helps. I know that's not an answer a lot of you may want to hear, but it is an unfortunate reality. And in reality, it's a good reality, not so unfortunate. Take it from someone who was looking for everyone else to solve his problems. And once he took responsibility for his own, and yes, I am talking about myself in the third person now, then I realized the supreme power that I had myself. No one gives their power to someone else. They just loan it. If you choose, you have your own power all the time. You're not actually giving it to someone. You're just telling them, mold it, do something. But they can't do what you can do. You're the best person for you, nobody else. I tell people you're your own guru. Look at yourself, look at the who's in the mirror in the morning. That's the person who is your expert. That's the person who is your guru. And that's the person who ultimately you need to listen to. Okay, let's see. Can you please, the name of the doctor? Okay, right. Okay, so the name of the doctor is Dr. I'll type it in for you all. Dale Bredesen. His book is The End of Alzheimer's. Am I spelling that right? No, didn't spell it right. Hold on. Okay, The End of Alzheimer's. There we go. Oh, okay, forgot the end quote. Anyway, I suggest that any of you who might be concerned, there's online tests you can take. There's to see if you have any cognitive issues. There's also blood tests that can be done to see if you have genetic markers that you might be prone to this. Doesn't mean you have it or you ever will, but it can show you if you might be prone to it. The nice thing about Dr. Bredesen's protocol, which includes one of my recordings, of course, is that it can help you, I believe, and he believes, and his research is showing, his case studies, that it can even stop it from happening in some cases, or I guess it's hard to say stop it from happening, but it has helped people reverse their symptoms. So that would imply that it might be able to stop the symptoms from showing up in the first place if you catch yourself early enough. A lot of people are really afraid of the concept of cognitive decline, and they resist doing anything about it. They ignore it. They forget about it. They they forget about it. Isn't that an interesting way to put it? So doing that, you're only hurting yourself. There are people who are afraid to go to the doctor because they figure what they don't know won't hurt them. We all know that there's lots of cases of people who suffer severe issues, even death, because they didn't go to the doctor. Had they gone, a pill or two or minor surgery could have changed everything. So I encourage you not, if you think that you might have an issue, I strongly suggest that you use these recordings regularly and with intention. And then you also go ahead and contact, Dr. Bredesen travels all over the world training doctors in his protocol, the Recode. And, it's entirely possible that there are doctors in your area who are familiar with Dr. Bredesen and are trained by him. So for all of you who may have this as a concern, I wish you the very best. Keep using my recordings diligently and follow through with, with your medical professional about Dr. Bredesen's work. Okay. So let's see. Morry, are you saying QMP is outdated? Only use triliminals now? Boy, I love these questions. One of the things that I was thinking of mentioning on this call tonight, when I was thinking about it this afternoon, was that so many of you think when I come up with something new, it's better than what came before. What I am saying is that what I come out with that's new is different. I refuse to release anything unless I think it's fantastic. Now, I'm not stroking my ego here. I have to think it's fantastic. The beautiful thing about entrainment is you can't get used to it. If someone tries to tell you, you get used to this recording or this system, and then you have to graduate to this system, and then you have to graduate to that system, that's BS. That's marketing. They're just trying to make you buy more. Properly engineered entrainment, you never ever get used to it. There will be times when you feel like nothing happened while you're listening, times when you feel like lots is happening when you're listening. You will be, you know, there will be lots of times where this happens or that happens or this doesn't happen or that doesn't happen. But the true effects of entrainment aren't what you feel when you're listening. It's what happens afterwards. Quantum mind power is as powerful today as it ever was. I think I mentioned at some point during this video that I still listen to a couple recordings in quantum mind power regularly, and it's 11 years old. For me, it's even older because I released it 11 years ago. Okay. I've been using various recordings in various incarnations of it for 20 years. You do not get used to this. None of my work ever becomes outdated or replaced. It's different. As I mentioned, okay, Ancient Love Me, as I mentioned not too long ago in this call, I that these recordings are what they are. They have their power. They deal with physiology, they deal with the brain, with the frequency following response. They are what they are. They are not fake, they are not woo-woo, they are science. The frequency following response does not go away no matter how often you use it. It doesn't matter. I created and I continue to create new systems for a number of reasons because I want people to be able to benefit from my work. Not everybody will benefit from quantum mind power. Some will benefit from other techniques, like some of the ones I'm designing right now that will be beta tested soon. Some will be helped with triliminals instead of quantum mind power. Some will be helped by a combination of any of the number of the above. I want to help as many people as possible. So instead of being happy, I create multiple systems, multiple techniques, because one may not help. Someone may download digital coffee and go, doesn't do anything for me. I've listened to it 10 times, did nothing. Someone might download, the triliminal on prosperity and go, holy crap, that's amazing. And it's the same person who thought digital coffee did nothing. I create what I create to help more people. One does not replace another, ever. Thank you for asking that question, because that's really an people are so used to new and improved. Apple comes out with a new and improved phone all the time. Samsung, a new improved phone. LG, a new and improved phone. I'm using phones as an example because they're prevalent in all of our lives. Get rid of your old Samsung. It's a piece of crap now that the 9 is out. Get rid of your piece of crap Apple 8 and 7, and 6 and 5 and 4, because now we have the Apple 10 and now the 10s and blah, blah, blah. All this garbage. It's all marketing. 99% of what they tell you is better is unimportant to you and you'll never use or even notice. It's just money in their pockets. It's the same thing with entrainment and other modalities. It's just money in the pocket. Okay? Nothing is better. If you are inspired to buy something new, go ahead and do it. I offer a money back guarantee. I'm more than happy to refund you if it doesn't help you. My recordings, my systems are all what I call synergistically compatible. So they're designed to work with each other. Obviously, I have some people who have every single thing I've ever come out with. And most of them listen, say, to Quantum Mind Power today, Confidence tomorrow, Effortless Prosperity the next day, other triliminals the day after that, Brain Prints after that, and then they start with Quantum Mind Power again. It works together. But that doesn't mean you have to get everything. If you use what you have properly and effectively, and you're getting good results, and you're growing and you're evolving and you're developing, all the power to you. Come on these calls, share your experiences with us. If you're having problems, share your problems and we'll try to help. Okay? I hope that helps. Okay. So stoke your ego. Oh, I guess that's stroke your ego, right? Okay, it is deserved. Your work does help me help myself. That's the best compliment in the world, that someone realizes that they are the real important aspect here. You are the real important thing here, not me. Okay. And I create a tool. When was the last time you thanked the hammer or the person who invented the hammer? Do you even know who invented the hammer? Do you know who invented the saw? Do you know who invented paint? Do you know who invented nails? Do you know who invented staples? Do you know who invented paper? You don't know, but you're grateful and you use this stuff all the time. That's what my work is. It's like a nail. It's like a hammer. It's useless if you don't use it properly. If you use it properly, it can be quite beneficial. But it's only beneficial if you use it properly. That's the important thing that you need to remember. You are the most important part of all of my systems. The most important part of my systems, I'll say it again, is you. That's why my systems work so well, I believe, because you are the most important part. I think if other people who create self-improvement products, because I think they all have great intentions. I think everybody wants to help. So I think if they were to redesign their products around you as opposed to around their wisdom and brilliance, I think their products would become more effective. But that's just my opinion, of course. So there you go. Okay. All right. We have Coach Five. I love the 2 million subliminals. Yeah, we're having actually a deal right now on a series of subliminal recordings that involve 2 million presentations every hour of listening in a subliminal manner, of course, using something called my time warp technology. And they are working. You know, it's interesting that you would say that. Thank you. I'm glad you're having fun with them and getting benefits from them. If people, there have been studies that show that if people know that they are being exposed to subliminal messages and they know that they're positive for them and they use them regularly, that they will likely be very likely to get benefits. That's without even, necessarily knowing that you're really getting subliminal messages. With my products, you're going to get that because when you buy them, you know you're buying subliminals anyway, and you know they have positive statements, and you know you want to listen to them, which is why you play them. So you're going to get benefits anyway. But on top of that, you're going to get benefits because they truly do have these positive messages that are designed to help you to help yourself. So thank you for sharing that. All right. I'm happy to continue. If I could sing a song for a minute, I would to fill in time. If anybody has anything else that they would like to say right now, if you're in the middle of typing, can you just can you just do me a favor and hit enter and then continue your typing after, just so I know that you're there? Otherwise, I think now is as good a time as any to end the call. We've been going for about an hour and a half now, which I'm happy to go longer. You guys want me to go longer, or do you want to call it a night? I will count down from 10 to give any of you a chance to type anything if you'd like me to continue. And at the end of that, if there's nothing showing up, we'll end the call. So let's kind of do this as a mini meditation. None of you are listening in your car, right? Probably not, because YouTube doesn't work in a car. Or you shouldn't be watching YouTube in a car anyway. So let's do it this way, just a mini relaxation, okay? 10. You're happy that you've now learned new information and gained new understanding. 9. You will use this understanding and knowledge to help you in all of life's experience. You will use it to calm yourself and bring peace in tense situations. 8. You feel very relaxed knowing that you are better prepared. 7. You might just change your and their reality. 6. Breathe in. Hold it for a second and feel your head expand with the knowledge and understanding. Breathe out. Breathe out all the negativity that may have built up from earlier in the day. 5. Thank you all. And you thank everyone around you for the wonderful experiences that their presence in your life offers. Where am I? 4. For everything you do and for being here tonight. And I am grateful to you for your participation and energy. 3, remember when we get angry, upset, agitated, it's nothing more than a red light on the dashboard of your life. 3, understand that taking action brings positive results to your life. 2, learn from all experiences. 1, never ever judge. Simply learn, understand, be helpful, and love. I want to thank you all for being here with me tonight. I think I may end all my calls like this in the in the future. If you want, maybe leave some comments below if you like that. I can come up with little meditations. As a matter of fact, if you give me direction, I can write little meditations to end these calls on in the future that you ask. So I want to thank you all. I hope I was helpful. I hope I answered all your questions. And if you were live, thank you for being here. If you weren't live, I didn't say alive, I said live. If you're watching this as a recording, I hope you got something out of this too. I'm always here for you on Skype, through email, or through the ether. Thank you for joining me tonight. Have a wonderful evening, morning, day, wherever you are in the world. I truly care about you. Thank you very much again. And until next month, I'm Morry Zelkovich, and I'm here for you. Namaste.